For he shall be judged without mercy who has shown no mercy. We all are familiar with the concept of karma. You get what you give, what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. You fill up your bank account, you go to that ATM machine, you look to pull out some cash, you're going to get out whatever you've put in. But the universe is not an endless ATM. It will not keep pouring out cash when you have an empty account, when your account has gone into overdraft. For a little while, you might get some money because you have a credit line, you have a certain amount you could take out in that overdraft, but beyond that, the ATM stops working. But there's also, so we're all familiar with that. How much of us embody this ideal? We all know it, but from time to time, we all ignore it because we're lost in this illusion, this hallucination. We're tricked, we're fooled, that somehow we're going to be granted things that we've never given. That only comes from one place, but it does take, and even that takes an investment. But there's also a reverse karma in that, which a lot of us don't think about, which is what you do not sow, you will never reap. So we always talk about you get what you give, and you reap what you sow, and what goes around comes around. But when nothing goes around, nothing comes around. Right? So there's also this idea that you're never going to receive that which you have not embodied. So you want to be treated kindly, but you deal in abruptness. You're curt, you're rude, you're short with people. You're not a very nice person. You want to be dealt with fairly, but you show undue favoritism and partiality to only certain people. You want knowledge, but you refuse to teach. You want encouragement, but you don't seek to inspire or motivate. And now let's move away. There's also this other side of the coin with respect to reverse karma, in that, think about your people. Think about your people. Your children. Your own. Those of your household. You want your children, you want your people to be upright, moral, ethical. And yet, you're decadent and debased. You want your people and your children, you want your children to be honest, and yet you deal in deceit and lies. You want your children, your people, to be healthy, to be strong, and yet you eat garbage. You don't train. You neglect your temple, the body that Elohim, the supreme Elohim, Yahuwah, the Most High, has given you. We were built in His image. We were created in His image. He breathed life into us that this hardware should house the Ruach, the breath of Elohim. And yet we tear it apart. And we want our children, but we want our children to treat their bodies right, to not neglect themselves, to be healthy, to be strong. But we don't embody that. You know, it reminds me, this is a perfect example of what I'm speaking about. I remember when I was much younger, one of my first real jobs was selling health club memberships. And I remember the older salespeople. So I was real young at this time, but the older, and I was filled with ideas. I thought, because I loved working out, I loved getting in shape, I loved training. And I used to read all the fitness magazines. Back then they were the bodybuilding magazines. I used to read Muscle and Fitness. I think that was just about the time it became Muscle and Fitness. It used to be known as Muscle Builder, I think. That was the Joe Weider magazine. But I used to read Muscle and Fitness. I remember asking my mom, because I wanted to get in shape. I remember reading, my brother got me, I think it was my 10th or 11th birthday, my brother got me Education of a Bodybuilder. He actually bought that book. I don't know how old he was. He must have been 9 years old. So he gave this to me maybe for my 10th or 11th birthday. And I was fascinated by Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, it's called Arnold, The Education of a Bodybuilder. It was published in the 70s, maybe in 1976. And I was so fascinated by it. And that's what I want. I wanted that physique. I wanted that strength. I wanted that vitality. And so I read that book cover to cover. I was immersed. And I asked my mom for Christmas. I wanted a Muscle and Fitness magazine. She put one in my stocking. So I got this Muscle and Fitness magazine that I'm reading. That would have been a couple of years later, I guess. But anyway, the point is that by the time I was in my late teens and I was going to college, as a summer job, a brand new health club opened up in my neighborhood, and I wanted to be a trainer, right? Because I was in shape, so I wanted to teach others to get in shape. I wanted to train. I had such a passion for it. I wanted others to have that passion for it. So I wanted to give that. And so I got hired at this health club with the idea of being a trainer. And next thing you know, I'm not training anybody. What I'm doing is I'm cleaning the machines and cleaning the gym. And then during the day, I'm being put outside of the gym with flyers trying to convince people to come up to the gym for a tour where other people will sell them memberships. Now here's the thing. The people that sold the memberships, most of them were out of shape. Most of them were some of them were grossly out of shape. And they were, they essentially were hedonistic, pleasure-seeking gluttons. But they had a sales pitch, and they had a sales process, and they followed it, and people looking to get into shape were sold the dream. And I saw this, and it always seemed so incongruent to me that there were so many, that this company, and this was a company with a lot of health clubs. They had a huge health club chain, huge, massive health club chain around the world, well, around the country certainly. And most of those, don't get me wrong, there were young idealists like me who were in shape, wanted to train, but the older guys who were the teachers who would train us how to sell, and who were the managers and the top dogs in this company, most of them, a lot of them were either not physically impressive, and I don't mean you had to be big and muscular, but they weren't athletes, they weren't in shape, they weren't physically dynamic and robust, they didn't look toned and strong and healthy. It was either that, or they were worse. They were out of shape, they had pot bellies, and they were just the worst examples, and yet they would somehow. So this always seems so incongruent to me. And what do you think people thought about that? Like, they would buy these memberships, and how do you think they would feel? It was almost like a willing deception. They only trained for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then they just let their health club, their memberships run and run and run and run. And these health clubs were running on that concept that, there was only so much space in the health club. And so they sell all these memberships and memberships and memberships, but how come it's never so crowded you can't get a workout in? And this was back in the day, and that's because most people would join after a couple months, they would go away. How could they be convicted, believe in the ideals of keeping their temple strong and healthy and robust and dynamic if the people that were evoking and evangelizing for the benefits of being in shape and healthy and strong, robust and dynamic were not? And so the whole thing was a facade. The whole thing was like a house of cards. The whole thing was just like a conscious deceit. People were the people that were selling the memberships were being openly deceptive because they were selling the benefits of getting in shape when they were out of shape, and the people were buying the memberships were being sold a pipe dream from someone who didn't believe in it, someone who was supposedly an evangelist but didn't live the words and the rules and the traditions and the processes and the systems that would get people in shape. And the people that were buying the memberships were willing to fool themselves because they were coming in, they were being inspired in the moment by someone who was not a true believer and was certainly on the outside didn't look like one. And they were only going to come in and they had this pipe dream or New Year's resolution or were sold a bill of goods or saw a commercial or were pulled along by the fitness craze of the 80s, because this is when I was selling those memberships. And so they moved in because it was a trend. But again, 2-3 weeks, a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, they were out. And so it was like a circle of deceit because no one embodied the truth, no one embodied the message, no one lived the example, no one embodied the principles. No one came from a place of conviction. And here I am, a young idealist, loved training, loved being in shape, wanted to teach people how to get where I was, and how to help them get healthier and stronger, and in so doing, be that way myself. Right? Live the example, be the example. And so it always seems so incongruent, and yet we want our children and our people to be strong, healthy, and resilient, and we don't train, we don't work out, we don't protect the hardware that Yahuwah gave us. We don't build the temple, the foundation that He bestowed upon us. We don't feed ourselves the fruits and the foods of Yahuwah that will keep us strong and healthy, and so that there is a place for the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, to reside and to fill us with that healing energy, because the framework rots. The same goes for morals and ethics. We want our children and our people to be honest, yet we deceive. We want our children and our people to be kind, but we're mean and ornery and angry. We want our children and our people to be purpose-driven, to have meaning in their lives and to be fulfilled, yet we waver, we wander. We're empty vessels, allowing ourselves to blow like a leaf in the wind to every trend, every influencer, every persuader that wants to sell us some new bauble or bedazzlement. We're easily led into all sorts of fanciful ideas and new age philosophies that are bereft of any true purpose or meaning, or that that leave us wanting more, cannibalizing and scratching away, because there's, at the heart of it, it has no soul. It has you chasing your tail. We want our children to be free of addictions. We don't want them to use drugs or get high. And yet we drown ourselves in pills and booze. We're hedonistic, we're pleasure-seeking, we're gluttons. And so there's this reverse karma, that everything that we want for others, so there's the things that we want for ourselves that we expect to be granted unto us, which we do not grant. And then there are things that we want for our children and our own and our people, but that we don't embody. That's reverse karma. Forget about what goes around comes around. Forget about you get what you give. Forget about that. Let's talk about what you want to see in others. We have to be, we have to live. We have to become. You want to inspire, be encouraging, be inspired, be motivated. How can you inspire others if you're not motivated, if you're not alive, if you're not filled with energy? How can you expect others around you, your own people, to be energetic, dynamic, and resilient and robust? If you constantly quit when the going gets tough, how do you expect them to go on when times are hard? If you want your children to be upright and honest, we must have character. We must be ethical and moral. We must be upright. We must be steadfast. And it all gets so confusing because we all have the best of intentions. Well, most of us do. A lot of us do, unless you're a sociopath and a psychopath. And there are plenty of those out there these days. But a lot of us have good intentions, but we get lost in this hallucination. We get persuaded in this mirage. We get influenced by this false reality and by those that would seek to lead us like Pied Pipers down a path that only serves them, where we have to sacrifice ourselves, our honesty, our morals, our ethics to them, because they have a path that will lead us to pleasure, that will lead us to a pain-free life, that will lead us to glory and power. All of these things, cheap thrills, cheap highs, none of them having any true payoff in the end. None of them having any virtue, ultimate virtue. All of it, all that you're promised by the Pharisees and the lying scribes and the dishonest Sadducees and the holy men and the wise men and the mentors and the gurus and the magi. All of them, the fathers, the priests, the false prophets, every single one of them, I shouldn't say every single one, but most of them have an agenda. They want power and dominion over you, and they do that. They do that by filling you with false promises of ideals that they themselves refuse to uphold, traditions that they refuse to embody, rules and laws of nature that they themselves reject. But they'll preach to you otherwise. The Pharisees, woe to you Pharisees, hypocrites, liars. They'll preach to you. They'll preach to you. And should you think I'm preaching to you, let me tell you here and now, I've said this before. When I say you, I mean me. Everything that I've just described has been me, was me. I simply seek to live the word now. And when I speak here, when I deliver these messages, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm speaking out loud, reminding myself how to live my life. I am simply holding up a mirror to myself and talking out loud so that I remember to embody what it is I wish to be, what I wish to become. Because I no longer want to live that life. I'm ashamed of being that person. I feel guilt-ridden about being that person. I feel anguish and heartache that that's how I acted, that that's who I was. And yeah, now, in these messages, I shout from the rooftops of the good news of Yahuwah, Yahusha, the Most High. He who breathes life, he who brings into existence, he who creates, and the perfect Lamb, Yahuwah, manifested in the flesh, Yahusha, Hamashiach, the Messiah, he who saves, he who redeems, the Most High who delivers, our deliverer, out of that pleasure-seeking, hedonistic, deceitful, corrupt, decadent, and depraved demon, possessed persona that we've all been at some point in our lives. That was me as well. I don't want to live that way. So I found a way out. So that's what I do not preach. I do not tell you how to live your life. I simply set myself by the clock of Yahuwah, by the law of Yahuwah, by the way, the truth, and the life of Yahuwah, Yahusha. And it has saved me from that old life. It saved me with a single commandment. A single commandment that made all of it, every one of these messages that I have given, all come from the fount of that simple message, that simple commandment, that simple truth, that simple way. Love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And love your fellow man as you love yourself. That is the fountain from which all good fruits are born, from which all bounty is bestowed, from which all beautiful flowers blossom. Embodying that simple truth, that simple way of Yahusha, we are healed. And we can live as an example for our people. So the way we teach is not by conducting lessons, it's by living the way, the truth, and the life. The way we teach is not by preaching, admonishing, extolling, demanding, berating people into being different or better. It's by embodying the word, the way, the truth, and the life. It's not by expecting others to be as you want them to be. It's by you, by me. Being what it is that Yahuwah, Yahusha wants me to be. A child of Yahuwah, Yahusha. A servant of Yahuwah, Yahusha. Dedicated, committed to the way, the truth, and the life. To be the example. And then those of my people who hear, they will hear. Those of my people who seek to know, they will know. Those of my people who need to see and perceive, they will see and perceive. It won't come from me lecturing them, or from giving, or from conducting lessons, or for getting on the, or for standing up on the pulpit and pounding it, such that others should live their lives a certain way. If you need the word, if you feel the way, the truth, and the life entering you, if you are hit all of a sudden with the ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, the set-apart spirit, if you feel his light erupting within you, if what I'm saying is resonating, if you feel his light shine down on you, he's calling you. He's calling you. Grab a hold. Don't let it pass you by. Because as the sun moves across this earth, and at one point the light is here, it will soon be there. It will pass you by. Don't let it. Don't let it, because if the light is shining on you and the breath is within you, the ruach of Yahuwah, if you feel it, grab a hold. Hold on tight. Don't let go. He has come to you. He's come to you. This is your chance, this is your opportunity for salvation, redemption, and deliverance, for true healing, for true peace, for true solace, for true joy, and for everlasting. To be alive for the first time in your life, to be alive. Because before Yahuwah, Yahusha, before living in Yahuwah, Yahusha, before the way, the truth, and the life, and the word, we are dead. We are perishing ever since we've been cast out of paradise, allowed ourselves to be misled by the serpent. The moment that happened, the moment we ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, such that we knew good and evil, we became evil. We were good, but now we became evil. Cast out from the Father, cast away, forced to roam the earth. And when Cain murdered his brother, because the serpent had infected him, as it has infected us, the land would no longer yield to him, such that he was forced to toil upon this earth, and all of his children toil on this earth by the sweat of your brow, such that we claw, scratch, connive, craft through clever manner, through means of destruction, through dominion, through conquering, through lies, to overcome others in order to get what we want, to stand upon to crush our enemies in order to climb a mountain, to do whatever it takes, to live for today, for there is no tomorrow. All of these mantras. Live today as if it's your last. Throw caution to the wind. Live a life of pleasure seeking. No man is promised tomorrow. Live for today. Live your best life. All of these hedonistic philosophies of the flesh that are preached by today's gurus, they will leave you hopeless, tortured, bereft, empty, soulless, broken-hearted, crushed souls, addicted, wondering why nothing has any meaning or purpose. How can it when you live and are led astray in an illusion, a hallucination, and a mirage, which is this false reality? But when you find the way, the truth, and the life, when Yahuwah, Yahusha lives within you, you are no longer the walking dead. You are no longer like the demons who want you to destroy yourself so they may live, because misery loves company. No, you are like Yahuwah, Yahusha, who sacrificed himself so that we may live. Imagine the dichotomy of that. The evil, corrupt demons of this world want you to sacrifice everything you have, including your life, your spirit, your soul, your heart, to them. Bind yourself, yoke yourself to them, and slowly give away every piece of yourself to them so they may live. They feed off your blood. They feed off your life force. They feed off your energy. The psychic vampires of this world bleed you dry so they may live. While Yahusha suffered all manner of pain, tortured and tormented, and gave everything, including himself, and made the ultimate and final sacrifice so that we may live forever, such that the new law, the living law, the new covenant was written on our hearts such that it lives forever. The old covenant, written on stone, perishes and fades away and reveals nothing but sin, evil, corruption, and doles out penance, and is meant for the unbelievers and the unfaithful. While the living law reveals life, the way and the truth. Love Yahuwah with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Love your fellow man as you love yourself. And then you understand how to live with truth, respect, healing, love, honesty. All the first fruits, all the beauty and majesty and grace of Yahuwah. The bounty that you receive more than you can ever imagine, such that your cup overflows, and that you are compelled now to share it because you have too much of it. It's overflowing. You have to share the good news. And all is revealed. All the questions you've ever had about meaning and purpose and, what is your place in this world, in the universe? Who are you? All of those questions, all the wondering, all the indecision, all the not knowing. You're hit with all of the epiphanies and the revelations. And as much of it as is revealed to you, it all collapses back in on the single truth. Love Yahuwah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And love our fellow man as we love ourselves. Imagine that. So we talk about that reverse karma. What we don't sow, we won't reap, but more importantly, what we don't do for our people, they will not, right? If what we expect of our people will not manifest unless we are that. Our people will not be as they should be if we are not as we should be. That is the real reverse karma, because it's not about us. Nurture your fellow man as you nurture yourself. Nurture yourself as you nurture your fellow man. If you want your people to be truthful, be truthful. If you want your people to be strong, be strong. If you want your people to be encouraged, be inspiring. If you want your people to be in shape, to be healthy, then we must eat the true nourishing foods of Yahuwah. We must train the temple so that the Ruach has a strong place to reside. Everything that we believe our people should be, we should be. And then again, those that need to hear will hear. Those that need to see will see. Those that need to know will know. Because you will live as an example for them. And the ones that are called will be called. But it starts with us, and it's for them. They are not meant for us. We are meant for them. We are meant to live for others. And in so doing, we live. Imagine that. The way, the truth, and the life. Love Yahuwah with all our minds, hearts, souls, and strength, such that we follow His commandments. How can we not? We love Him with all our hearts, souls, minds, and strength. And in following those commandments, your life is full of healing and love and joy and honesty and integrity and credibility and all the first fruits, all the good things, all the bounty of the harvest. And in loving our fellow man as we love ourselves, and loving ourselves as we love our fellow man, we can nurture our fellow man if we nurture ourselves. And in nurturing ourselves, we can nurture our fellow. Encouraging ourselves, we can encourage our fellow man. Building ourselves up to be strong and healthy, we can help build our fellow man up to be strong and healthy. In living the way, the truth, and the life, our people can see how to live the way, the truth, and the life. Because now that we've been saved, there are those in our own household, those of our own people. There are many, many, many of those in our sphere of influence that we don't even realize. And then beyond that, that are now where we once were. Addicted, hopeless, frustrated, anxious, longing, hungering, thirsting for meaning and purpose. And we can serve as that beacon through the Ruach of Yahuwah that lives within us and whose light bursts forth from us, not only healing us from the inside out, but also acting as a lighthouse, because an infinite number of rays of his healing energy burst forth from us such that we're alive. For the first time ever, we are alive. We are filled with his energy. And those who are lost at sea, like a beacon, like a lighthouse, they can see the light bursting forth from us such that they can find their way to salvation. Because they can see that if we, who were once like them, hopeless, addicted, in sorrow and despair, frustrated, anxious, neurotic, hopeless, without purpose, without meaning, seeking, longing, searching, tearing ourselves to pieces, depraved, defiled, and debased, they see that if we can be saved, that we can shine with this light and this motivation, this encouragement that we've been given, blessed by Yahuwah, Yahusha, in our salvation, then they too can be redeemed. So let us walk now, finally, with purpose, with meaning, with strength, steadfast and true, as we walk the narrow path, because it is bright and emblazoned and shining with the light of Yahuwah, Yahusha. We see it now. In our redemption, our salvation, it is clear as day. We see it. We see the way, the truth, and life. We see the path. It is so obvious that we not only walk it, we march on it, and we even clear the way. We clear the path. As John the Baptist said, clear the path, make the crooked road straight. He is coming, and he is coming again. Make no mistake about it, in these times of trial and tribulation, you can see the chaos. You can see the frenzy. You can see the hatred, the violence that is being sowed amongst the peoples, pitting brother against brother, sister against sister, man against man. We are being led astray, but when we are in Yahuwah, Yahusha, in all of our faith and belief and love in Yahuwah, Yahusha, we wear his armor. We wear the armor of Yahuwah. We wear the helmet of salvation. And we wield his breath, the Ruach that lives within us, as a sword that obliterates all darkness and negativity that seeks to enter. It can't even get close. The light that bursts out of us is like a force field. It cannot even it dissolves any negativity, wayward frequencies, chaotic ideals, decadence, depravity, all of it dissolved as we march on this path, true and strong and steadfast, and we move together, united finally as children of Yahuwah, Yahusha. We walk tall, united. It cannot divide us any longer, and we carry his banner, the banner of the way, the truth, and the life, as we march unstoppably. We cannot be defeated. We are unassailable, unconquerable, unstoppable, as we move relentlessly and ceaselessly like a freight train to kingdom come.